IEBC chairperson, and anytime from now we were expecting the returning officer of this constituency to announce the results, but then he has pushed that announcement to 11 p.m. But then, Sharon, I just want us to delve into what the win for the presidential candidates, any of the presidential, compared to the other previous electioneering period in 2013, 2017. And to have this discussion with me for a short while is Davis Okombo, a human rights expert. Thank you for joining us here on KTN News 𝐋𝐈𝐕𝐄 2022 this afternoon. And of course, we have a social researcher and governance expert, Alphonse Omondi Awete. Asante sana kwa kukuja KTN News this afternoon.
Thank you.
We are looking at the delay of a transmission of results from the polling stations to the constituency level, and also to the constituency county tallying center, and also to the tallying county center. Let me begin with you, Okombo. What do you think is causing all this?
Thank you very much indeed, Brenda. I think it is important to note that the IEBC indeed developed a technological method of voter registration, voter verification, and transmission system of the election results. And in this sense, therefore, it is indeed not fair to keep the residents waiting for the results to be announced, and this is likely to escalate tension among the residents. I think the law is very, very clear on how the results need to be transmitted, and that is why I would like to call upon the IEBC to live to its commitment and announce these results as required, in order for the people to see this process as credible as possible.
So they shouldn't wait until 11 p.m. for the residents of Kisumu Central to know who is going to be their next MCA for Kisumu Central, and also for the Member of Parliament. That is what you're telling us.
I think it is very, very important for the IEBC to be accountable to the people of Kisumu Central and indicate those reasons which may make them to delay the release of these results. Because if they don't do this, then I'm afraid that we are likely to see growing tension among the supporters of the various candidates.
All right, and Awete, just looking at the sort of peaceful environment that Kisumu County has experienced so far compared to the previous years, why do you think this is different when you look at 2013 and 2017? It's totally different from now.
All right, thank you, Brenda. I think there is a lot of expectations among Kisumu residents and maybe to the larger Nyanza province, in terms of the fact that their son was on the ballot, and there were indications, or if we go by what opinion polls and even other indicators have shown, is that he was at a better position to perform well and even win the election. So that actually raised the interests of residents, and even most people feel like it's so close. It's never been closer than this. And given the fact also that there has been a cordial relationship with the government of the day, with ODM and Azimio, I think that raised expectations to that level.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Okombo, we have 4 presidential candidates here. We have Waiga Maure of Agano Party, George Wajakoya of the Roots Party. We have Raila Odinga of Azimio, William Ruto of UDA through Kenya Kwanza. So, winning the presidential seat for any of these candidates, what does it mean for Kisumu County residents, for the Luo Nyanza region?
Well, I think it is important to recognize that Luo Nyanza is a stronghold of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and there is no doubt that everyone in this region has high expectation that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga will be announced as the winner of the presidential contest. Having said that, there are lots of promises that Right Honorable Raila Odinga made, not only for Luo Nyanza region, but for the whole of this country. And this includes the social protection platforms that he has ably demonstrated in his manifesto, and also the fight against corruption. And we know that Right Honorable Raila is the architect of devolution, and therefore, as the people of Kisumu residents, we do believe that the fruits of devolution would be seen in the whole of this region. And finally, this is the fifth stab of presidency for Right Honorable Raila, and therefore there is growing interest, a lot of expectation, and we do believe that the voters will speak, and I believe that their voice shall be heard. Thank you.
So, Awiti, as from 3 a.m. yesterday, residents of Kisumu County barely slept. Some made their way to the polling stations, polling centers to go and cast their ballots. But then when we looked at the voter turnout, it wasn't so impressive, you know, like in 2013 and 2017. What do you think might have caused this, the low voter turnout?
Yeah, the low voter turnout is a factor of so many things. I would attribute it to the general economic conditions that is prevailing in the country. You'll find that on both sides, the bases of the main presidential candidates had an impressive turnout in terms of people who turned out to vote. But there are also those other areas where they did not have a direct stab or somebody who was directly vying at that level. And these people are also dogged by other factors, majorly social and economic. And if you look at even the enthusiasm among the youth, from the voter registration times, you find that IBC was only able to register about 39.5% of the voters, and that's not something that is impressive. It shows that there are other underlying factors that also affected this. But Kisumu residents, if we narrow down to Kisumu residents, of course like I said, they had expectations, and they have high expectations in terms of this stab at the presidency.
All right, and those high expectations will just be proved on how they will vote once the chairperson of IBC makes that crucial announcement, that important announcement that all Kenyans are waiting for. Will it be the deputy president or Raila Amolo Odinga to neck in sort of results that are still streaming in? But then when we draw it down to Kisumu Central, you know, we are saying, when I look at Kisumu Central, let me just get these figures correctly. When I look at Kisumu Central for Joshua Oron, he seems to have gotten the lead here, you know, through the ODM party. Fred Ouda, once an ODM member but went independent. We are also seeing Shakil Shabir. Okay, he's not from the Kisumu Central, mentioning his name because he was once an ODM member but decided to go independent. So what do you think, Combo, what do you think the independent candidates are sending to the ODM party? You know, David Ochieng has come up with MDG. MDG has also fielded candidates within Kisumu Central.
Well, I think it is the democratic right of every Kenyan to elect the leaders that they desire. And as far as independent candidates are concerned, I think the voters look into the development records of those particular leaders. And for the ODM, I think the Right Honorable Raila Odinga called for the 6-piece voting pattern, which has favored many of these candidates who won the ODM and nomination. But that said, I think the voters are now more enlightened. They are ready to look at the development records of the various leaders that have stood for election, and therefore I think it is important for political leaders to accept that independent candidates are here to stay, and this is guaranteed by the laws of this country, and therefore, if the voters so wish to elect them, then let it be. But that said, it is also important for the independent candidates, once elected, to take a stand in the parliament that really protects the interest of Kenya and to show their independence.
As we wind up our week, I need to hand over to my colleague 𝐋𝐈𝐕𝐄 at the data center at our headquarters in Nairobi, Mombasa Road, along Mombasa Road. What we are seeing with the woman county representative seat, Raila Odinga's sister, neck to neck, almost, if I may put it that way, too close to call, with Valentine of the MDG party.
Yeah, I would say it's a factor of many things, of quite a number of things. One is the feeling or the negative effects of incumbency or something around that, because there are people who feel that given that Raila is on the ticket, they would want someone else to occupy the women representative seat, and they have reasons to justify that. And particularly also, there are people who voted independently, who just wanted someone to represent them at that level. And also, it could be a dynamic of what previous elections have given or Ruth has done. Remember, she was the DG to Ranguma, and there were also certain accusations and even around that really could have affected her. But all said and done,
wait and see.
We will wait and see.
Who will get the woman representative seat for Kisumu County? Is it Valentine Achieng of MDG or Ruth Odinga, the sister to Raila Odinga of the ODM party? Thank you so much, Davis Okombo, who is an human rights expert, and Alphonse Omondi Awiti, social researcher and governance expert. Asante sana, gentlemen, for joining us here this afternoon. 𝐋𝐈𝐕𝐄, I need to hand it over to you because you need to give us the data, the breakdown of the voting patterns, what the numbers look like for the blue color, that is Azimio, and the yellow color for Deputy President William Ruto Kenya Kwanza. Here, of course, at 11 p.m. Tricks, we shall be telling Kenyans who will be the next MCA and, of course, Member of Parliament for Kisumu Central at 11 p.m.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Zena Radido coming to us from Nyanza region. But we're going to take a look at the national level and at the presidential level and just try to see who's leading and what the early projections are. Of course, you do remember that we're doing parallel tallying here at the Standard Media Group, just to give you an overview and perhaps some projections and authoritatively declare some of the regions that have already been taken. So based on our data and what we have been, with the numbers that we have been crunching, this seems to be the situation as of now. Of course, lagging behind a bit compared to the IEBC official tally, but indeed slow wins the race. Now, we're going to take a look at these colors. As Brenda has said, yellow represents UDA, William Ruto, while blue represent Raila Odinga. We have Wajakoya, don't forget, Maure also in the race for the presidential level. Now, let's take a look at some fresh numbers that we're getting right now. We can take a look at some of the key areas. For example, Kirinyaga County is one of the key areas. Remember, Azimio running mate for Raila Odinga, Martha Karua, is from this region, but it has fairly seemed to be leaning towards William Ruto, and of course, not very good news for the Azimio team. And when you look at Kirinyaga Central, we do have some of the numbers that have come in right now. Now, it is subdivided between Kerugoya, Kanyekini, Mutiri, and Inoi. And if we were to take a look at those numbers, it indicates that Ruto is overwhelmingly in the lead. Let's move on to another constituency that we can just take a look and break down in terms of the numbers. We have here Marakwet East. Understandably, this is a Ruto stronghold, and the numbers are indicating. So 97.49% of that part has gone to William Ruto, who has garnered the 31,000 votes and 59. Now we have also Odinga right there getting some votes from Marakwet East, and he has gotten 2.29% of that Marakwet East vote, and that is 730 votes so far. Now, according to our tally, also Marakwet West numbers are out, and we have Ruto in the lead as well, getting 97.49%. 37.01%. That is 44,409 votes. We also have Raila Odinga featuring in a distant second at 2.82%. That is 1,290 votes. Moving on, we have Kamukunji right there. Nairobi has been slow in its remission of some of these numbers, but we have Kamukunji showing that Raila Odinga is in the lead in that particular constituency. He is at 57.59%. That is 35,530 votes. Ruto Samoei William has 41.84% of the Kamukunji votes, and that is 25,815 votes. Let's move on to Embakasi Central, where we are finding out that Odinga is in a clear lead right there at 53.18%, and that is 37,288 votes. We have William Ruto coming in second, not very far off from Raila Odinga at 46.28% votes, and that is 32,451 votes. Moving on to Roysambu, also in Nairobi, you have William Ruto in a clear lead at 65.12%. That is 58,706 votes, 58,000 that is. Then we have Odinga at 34% of the Roysambu constituency vote. That is 30,657 votes. Let's move on to Kasarani. Also, we have William Ruto in a lead, getting 60.66% of the Kasarani constituency vote, while Raila Odinga is at 38.5%, and that is 34,685 votes. Moving on to Western Kenya, in Busia County, we have Butla constituency that's giving us 90.97% of their votes have gone to Raila Odinga, and that is 791 of the votes. And Ruto is coming in, taking 8.23% of the total votes at 3,509 votes. Moving on, Gem in Siaya County, we are having Raila in a clear lead at 98.62% of the vote. That is 63,425 votes. William Ruto is at 1.09%, that is 702 votes, of course, for obvious reasons. Those are strongholds of Raila Odinga. Another stronghold, clearly, that many perhaps have no idea about is the prison constituency that's given 100% of their votes to Raila Odinga, and the number is 16 votes. Now, let's move on and see how Embakasi North is faring. That constituency is giving Raila Odinga a clear lead, whereby we're having, that is 51.51% of the vote. William Samoei Ruto is at 48.08% votes. That is 33,201. And now let's head on to Nandi Hills, where they're announcing the vote tally right now.
That I pronounce the tally and declare the winner of this election. Again, our total number of voters in Nandi Hills constituency is 57,910. Alfred Victor garnered 18,037 votes. Ghana, 23,000. I don't know whether you heard what I'm saying. You wait until the returning officer finishes. Vincent Kiptoo-Koech, Ghana, 215. David Kiptoo-Koske, Ghana, 130. Charles Kiptanui-Meto, Ghana, 94 votes. Valid votes cast for When I said I was not rejected, it meant I thought well.
Good luck.
So the agents who have signed will get a copy of this result once they are ready to file. Thank you. I therefore declare Bernard 𝐋𝐈𝐕𝐄 in the contest for permanent position in the
That's fine. That's fine. Viendo.
Right, that is breaking news from Nandi Hills, where Bernard 𝐋𝐈𝐕𝐄 has been declared the Nandi Hills Member of Parliament after the official results were declared and signed. He was running on a UDA ticket, and of course, to much jubilation from supporters who are at the tallying center right there. And of course, we're going to be bringing you blow-by-blow coverage of this elections, and just the latest that's coming in right now from Nandi Hills is that Bernard 𝐋𝐈𝐕𝐄 of the UDA party has been declared Nandi Hills Member of Parliament right now, just moments ago. And of course, we have seen him receive congratulations from his supporters that were milled around that center as they awaited the long counting process and patiently waited to hear for that, of course, a very that very victorious win for that particular candidate. Let's now move on to the data that we're getting from our standard group parallel tally to the IBC tallying that is ongoing. And we were at Embakasi North right there, where I told you that Raila was in a clear lead at 51.51%, while William Ruto was at 48.0%. And I'd like to draw your attention to Migori County right here and see a bit of division right there from what you'd expect traditionally. But Migori County right here, you're seeing Rongo, Awendo, Nyatike, Suna East, and Kuria. And well, those are the ones that have been declared to have gone towards Raila Odinga. But Kuria East right here seems to have gone to William Samoei Ruto right there. And Suna West, Kuria West, and Uriri are still yet to give us their numbers. Awendo earlier on had released their numbers, and we got 98.79%, which is 41,652 votes going to Raila Odinga. Ruto got 1%, 1.06% to be exact. That is 447 votes. And then we had Rongo giving us 98.53% of the vote. That is 44,934 for Raila Odinga, and William Ruto garnering 1.29 votes from that, which is basically 590 votes. We're going to keep you updated on the numbers as they come in. But from the data center, let's move on to our I&M studios to Fred Inimuli, who's got a panel discussion ongoing. Let's listen in. And 90 votes. Updated on the numbers as they come in.
Thank you, Trix. And
Going back to that press briefing by IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati, if I could just use his words, there will be no declaration of presidential election results today. The IEBC still has 7 days to make that declaration. It is a very painstaking process, and I'm still in studio, our city studio, with my panelists. And Ishmael Nyaribo, you were speaking when we had to move to Bomas for that briefing. And we're just talking about the process and why Kenyans should not expect definitive results anytime within the next 12 hours or 24 hours at least.
Yeah, I mean, you heard over there the reporters in Kisumu saying they were supposed to have, IBC announce the elections, the results, but it has been postponed to 11 in the night. That is just Kisumu results. There are several areas that will send in their results. So I think that what at the moment actually Kenyans should do is to be extremely cautious and patient and allow Chebukati to do his math. We can do our own statistics the way we want, and I think that is allowed. IEBC has allowed us to go to their portal, pick results, and do what we want to do with them. And we are seeing all that on the social media. But again, Fred, Chebukati has confirmed clearly that he has no other secret results. The results are what is trickling in to the portal. Therefore, if you have all the time to go to the 2090 constituencies, and you have all the time to download piece per piece of
45,000.
I see.
4As are ready for you.
Yeah, and you have to go. You go to one, you write it down, and you go to another one, and you write it down. I think that will take us to next week, maybe Friday or on the weekend. So I think we need to allow the IEBC to do their homework. We need to go, in my view, sleep by 10 o'clock in the night, let IBC do their homework, come back the next day and see what's happening. But my honest opinion is we should be extremely cautious and patient and allow IBC to at least do their homework. As they have said, this time they're quite transparent. And then this issue of celebrating early, I think it's always good, there is that chemical that, is generated when you are happy. I think we should do anything to be happy. That is okay and normal. But no one should assume that 9th of August was not going to happen. 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th, they are here with us. And I think we now should pray that the Mandago spirit comes to us so that we don't keep anything so personal. There was a campaigning period, there has been a voting period, and now there is the tallying period. And then there will be an announcement. Nothing should surprise a Kenyan, really, in his right mind.
And there seems to have been a lot of premature reaction to the tallying and counting of votes, because I'm made to understand at least one candidate who had considered early this morning has had to withdraw that concession because probably he did so a bit too early. But speaking about healing, because we've been talking about healing with you, Dismas, and the process of healing, because there'll be a lot of losers. 16,000 plus candidates, only 1,890 elective seats. At least 14,000 people go home as losers, and their supporters will feel they have lost as well, including the presidential race. Only 1 out of the 4 will be declared winner. And so there's a lot of healing. Does this, the fact that the IEBC has allowed any person who feels they can tally the results access to the Form 34As, does this really help in the healing process?
Well, you've asked 4 questions that are heavily loaded. In my view, when you go to the electoral process, you must socialize with the 2 outcomes, that you are going to win or you're going to lose. So you must prepare your system, your supporters, your sycophants, your donors for those 2 possibilities, that you are going to win and you are going to lose. So as you sit back at home and listen to your advisors and your team giving you information, you must be prepared for those 2 eventualities. So that way, then you will not get into a crisis. And then maybe that's perfect in managing expectations. And that should go to the key supporters and sycophants of Mr. Raila Odinga as well as William Samoei Ruto. They must know that in the next few days, one of those is going to be declared as the President of the Republic of Kenya. So that if their desired candidate is not declared, then it's not the end of the world. There's going to be another election in the next 5 years, and then another one in 5 years, and another one in 5 years. And I think part of the reason why people are a bit tense and suffering from a lot of hyper anxiety, a lot of sensitivity, others are even getting these lifestyle conditions, is for them, for this election, they knew that it's only one outcome, that my candidate must win. And if my candidate is not winning, then the process has not been free, fair, and credible. With that kind of thinking, then people will easily slide into depression. So people must prepare for all those eventualities. That is number one. The number two, you spoke about people conceding very early on in the day, or others, getting a pepper steak or getting a whiskey because they've won. It's because for some reason, everybody in Kenya with a mobile phone has become a source of information. Because right now, if you compose a text message, you say you are from a particular polling station, and you forward it, within 15 minutes, it will come back to you as authoritative news, which is why we have said times above numbers. Do not follow people on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram who do not have any credibility. If you want to get credible news, you must follow established media houses or IBC. Because there are people there who are having fun. There's somebody who may want to drive blood pressure for Kenya Kwanza supporters or Azimio supporters, and he'll just send a message. Like, for instance, if you're a popular blogger and you are associated, say, with Kenya Kwanza or Azimio, you say it's a rap. People will interpret it in many ways. If you say it's a rap, it could mean you've lost, or it's a rap, you've won. So people need to be very careful. And as the learned lawyer has indicated, people must go back to their routines. Staying up night, your eyes glued to the TV station or your screen or your radio will change absolutely nothing.
Although we still promise that we'll keep you updated every minute, every single minute. This is wall-to-wall coverage, 24 hours throughout the day.
No, it's okay. You keep us updated because, that's your core business. But for an ordinary Kenyan to go home, you're not even taking tea, you are not having supper, you're just staring at the ceiling, you are abandoning your family obligations, you're not even going to work. People have even complained that right now, having a Zoom meeting with a Kenyan is a very serious challenge. So we must go back to business as usual. And it's also important that we shouldn't start casting aspersions on, say, Kenya Kwanza or on Azimio. There is a social media traffic and they want to achieve a particular agenda. No Kenyan is under obligation to go to Twitter and follow bloggers allied to Kenya Kwanza or bloggers allied to Azimio. What you must follow is established media houses and IBC. And Chebukati has told you that is required by law to make his pronouncement within 7 days. So I don't know why people want an announcement on day 1 or day 2. They need to remain calm. And this time around, Chebukati has said he's going to make this declaration in the middle of the day, broad daylight, you'll be alerted. And in my view, I think that is okay in terms of managing expectations. Okay. But again, as the lawyer has indicated, if you think you have got the energy and capacity and resources, go to the IBC portal, get some cold water in a karai, then start downloading every single document and doing the tallying for yourself. Okay. But if you don't have that capacity, wait for IBC.
Okay, and IBC will definitely do that. But there's a marked shift in the kind of perception that IBC has created, because in the latter days of the campaigns, a lot of criticism was driven the IEBC way, that the commission was accused of not being well prepared. It was accused of engaging in some level of mischief in preparation of this election. But so far, you've not seen any kind of contestation. In fact, IEBC is coming out as having prepared very well. People are trusting and believing what the chairman is saying. You look at social media, no one is criticizing the IEBC. Probably they're complaining it's taking too long, but the kind of perception change towards the commission's handling of this process. What do you make of that?
I think, first of all, it's because IBC seems to be the only option. They have the monopoly now, so everyone is waiting to hear what do they have. People do not have a lot of options. That's why people are focusing on them. Of course, there are certain blunders that IBC has made that also demonstrate some unacceptable level of incompetence, like a late cancellation of, voting in certain areas like, Kakamega and Mombasa, and certain areas like Rongai. They cannot be absolved of that blame. But in terms of people are now waiting for results, and that is where people are going to punch them once the results, especially the presidential results, are out. Remember, at the moment, no Kenyan is thinking about any other level of I mean, the other positions, the member of parliament, no one is talking about them yet. Everyone is focusing on the presidential. And depending on how results are managed, I think that is when we are going to see a lot of hullabaloo. But I just wanted to add something in terms of urging Kenyans to go back and continue with their duty. I think we shouldn't blame Kenyans for having high expectations. They've really invested in this process. So they expect that just as the voting, the results are going also to reflect the free, fair, and credible election. So Kenyans should remain expectant. And I think this puts pressure on IBC to also fast-track the process and ensure that Kenyans have the results as soon as is humanly possible.
Hezbon, do you agree that my assessment of the IEBC and how Kenyans are taking information from the IEBC has changed? Because he says no, IEBC still has to answer a few questions.
Well, you know, if you look at the things that preceded the voting day, you know, especially a day before the election when we were told that we were not going to have the gubernatorial elections in Mombasa, Kakamega, and a few other constituencies, you can actually fault IBC, just like he says, you know, that if they made a trip to Greece, I mean, those are the things that they were supposed to deal with. They are well funded. They should arrest some of these things like mismatch of pictures in the ballot boxes. But I think after that, and consistently, there's a sense in which, you know, you can't fault IBC for how they've come out, you know, to provide a very transparent, you know, framework of looking at the voting, the transmission process, including what Chebukati has just explained. I mean, it's now an open book that the results are already in the portal. If you want Form 34A, it's already there. If you have the capacity to tally, it's already there. What that tells you is that it doesn't matter what people spew on social media. It doesn't matter whether the media is efficient and very fast or not. What matters is whatever IBC will declare will have to be exactly what is on those portals. And we can go and verify and corroborate that information. From where I sit, you know, it allays any fear of any mischief. That if someone wanted to manipulate anything, it's already in the open. We can actually tell. Now, the next thing that we see IBC doing, which again I'm happy about, is the fact that they are not in a hurry. They have 7 days, and Chebukati said they have 7 days. And you see, the process is so painstaking that you don't want any side of the political divide to win this election, and then it is challenged in a court of law. So, due compliance with the law, that they'll get Form 34Bs from the returning officers. But they will have to verify, check, and tally, and ensure that whatever is in Form 34B is exactly what they have in the Form 34As that generated Form 34B. Now, that due diligence for me is an assurance that if the candidate that I support wins, or the candidate that someone else supports wins, I will be very comfortable that the process has been free, fair, and transparent. I can easily, what makes an election credible is, first, you have to see the process as being fair. Number two, you have to see the process as being transparent. Number three, you have to see the process as being verifiable. If I can go back and check, you know, the capacity that we don't have is to just download all those, you know, Form 34As and tabulate.
But with the benefit of time, you can actually do that.
With the benefit of time. But you see, with the benefit of time, shall have been overtaken by what IBC is doing, because you are funding IBC. Even these political parties, they are doing that. But you see, the authority comes from IBC. So we would encourage anyone to tally if you have the infrastructure. Tally, because we want a fallback. We want to say that, by the way, what IBC has declared is credible. And why are we saying it is credible? It is tallying with what Azimio did. It's tallying with what Kenya Kwanza did, because I am sure they're doing that. So there'll be folks outside there who will try, you know, spewing information, telling us about, you know, their tallying. But we have to believe IBC, because IBC has a verification process that has to be in compliance with the law.
Wakili, you wanted to say something?
Fred, I think we own up sometimes and say, okay, this is a fact. Like the way IBC has come out, we see a different Chebukati. When you look at 2017 and you look at him now.
No, 2 days difference. Actually, by 6th or 7th of August, the kind of criticism.
Yeah, there are two things. Yeah, one, he is now coming out as a very transparent and accountable CEO, accountable chairman of the IEBC. And this is important because let's give it to him. For some reasons, which probably I will mention one or two after this, there was a court order saying, look, you cannot just say you will rely on the primary KM's kit. You must also use the manual register. He would have been a kichongu and starts going around the law, start to say no, or yes, what. But he followed that. And out of that, now he has come back and he has said, actually, the final person who is declaring the results, per se, is the polling station returning officer. What does that tell you? He is not hiding anything. So I think we give it to him for running a transparent kind of elections this time. Now, these teething problems, you look at the first world countries, whether it's in Europe or in the US, you will always find there was email delay, they did not arrive in time, the people in the diaspora were not given papers correctly. Those are teething problems and we cannot really hammer Chebukati this time. So I think for the good work he's doing as of now, we should give it to him. Now, in terms of when should he announce the results, please, I agree with my brothers what they're saying, but we normally check, we benchmark, we check people against the rules. We put the rules here, this is the law. Has he done it according to the law or not? The law has given him 7 days. If he decides to announce these results on the 7th day in the evening before midnight, that's okay with him and with the citizens as well. But let's give him the leeway. You know, when most of us, you've written proposals, you write theses, you know that you will correct 2-3 times before actually you surrender the final document. So let's give it to him to announce the results within the 7 days given by the Constitution.
We have the time, and school, CS Magoha has actually postponed the opening of school, so yes, we still have the entire week, the rest of this week to wait for the results. Let's now take a look at the issue of voter turnout. And the chairman has come out and actually said that according to the projection, at least around 65% of registered voters turned out to vote. Is that your assessment? It looked like those who came out to vote were actually lesser than that.
Well, first of all, to address the issue of Chebukati, during the last elections, he demonstrated high levels of incompetence, which led to the nullification of the presidential election. But following many court rulings and those illegalities and irregularities, I think he's managed to redeem himself. Because you see a Chebukati today who is so transparent that you can actually see through his body. There are no lies. And he has told you that if you are still casting aspersions on my ability to deliver, go to the portal. And I suspect majority of the guys who don't trust IBC or who have not trusted Chebukati in the past, because he's been so transparent, nobody will even go to that portal because now there is nothing. And I think that's where the mischief could be, because there could be a lot of things which are hidden in plain sight. Because now, you know, in the past people were saying, oh, where is this information? They can't find it. Can you get the server? Can you open these systems? But now he's told you, go to the top of Mount Kenya, you'll get this portal, interact with it, socialize with it as you deem fit. And I think people doubt whether he's created predictable systems for unpredictable outcomes, will not even visit it. But now when you look at the turnout, this is not the kind of turnout people had anticipated. People expected much higher turnout. And maybe, in my view, there could be several reasons as to why the turnout is not what people had expected. Number one, it could be the quality of persons who presented themselves for these elective positions. And people may easily say that, in fact, there's no choice. That if you look at Mr. Raila Odinga and you look at Mr. William Samoei Ruto, a number of people would say these are not the people expected. And the same would happen in these other elective offices. So people may decide to stay at home. Number two, it would be the cost of participating in this process. And you know, because Kenya, we place a huge premium on ethnicity, you'll find a gentleman who lives and works in Nairobi is a registered voter in Mandera or Turkana or in Migori. And when they look at the cost of going to Migori or Mandera to go and cast their ballot and come back, it can be at all order, given the fact that this election is taking place early in the week. And if you have no capacity to get days out of the work, so you imagine, how will I be able to go to Mandera and then come back and cast my ballot? Then the other issue would be that people are just lazy. They believe that their vote will have no impact at all in leadership. because, in the past, people have woken up early in the morning to go and cast the ballots, but they do not see the relationship. Instead, what happens is the people you voted to office, all of a sudden, they become millionaires and billionaires, and they don't do anything to assist you achieve your objectives. In my view, those could be the three reasons. Or, that's in theory. But if you compare it with the previous numbers, then one could even assume that maybe the previous turnout numbers were in fact not accurate. That maybe this is the first accurate turnout we have. That in the past we may have been given numbers that had been manipulated. Because this one has been very transparent. People can even touch the turnout. People can touch the 34A and the 34B.
People previously could actually experience the long queues at the voting and polling stations. This time the queues were much shorter, and you spent a lesser period of time going through this, the motions. But surely 65-66% turnout, that's 2/3. That's not so bad, don't you think?
Yeah, that's not so bad. I mean, if you compare it to what has been happening in perhaps other countries or even recent elections, you see like in America, which is truly a developed democracy, they're just at the voter turnout is about 55 to 60%. Ghana just did the elections the other day, and Senegal, we see there, and Zambia, you see they're at between 50 and 60%. So we're not doing badly if we compare ourselves to other countries, but we're doing badly if we compare ourselves to the previous elections. That we shouldn't be, the numbers shouldn't be going down, numbers should be going up. But this was also expected if you look at voter registration, the mass voter registration. The anticipated number of 9 million, we only ended up with about less than 3 million coming forward to register. So that was expected. And maybe just adding to what my fellow panelist was saying, I think it also talks to the fact that especially the youth, they've become apathetic, they've become cynical. They feel like politicians take them for a ride, and maybe they're looking for another route to address their problems, perhaps not elections. I think we need to address that. But lastly is just the fact that it is not obvious that when someone gets to 18, they're going to register to vote, and when they register to vote, they're going to come out to vote. So we need to have sort of massive awareness, civic awareness, to help people understand what is on the ballot, what is at stake for them, so that if you don't participate, this is what you're doing. This is your contribution to our democracy and to development. So I think there is need for us not to assume that it is obvious that people are going to come out and vote. And that is largely for the youth.
And I know this is something we'll continue talking about, because the perceived low voter turnout is one of the big headlines today. But the other thing that we notice is the high number of candidates who have gone on social media to actually concede defeat. Now, this is beyond those who did it premature. Why would anyone be excited to concede defeat? But quite a number have done so. Naomi Shabani in Taita Taveta, Nixon Koriri in Langata, Cliff Ombeta in Bunchari, Victor Munyaka Machakos, Moses Kuria in Kiambu, Helen Obado in Migori, Amos Kimunya in Kipipiri. This is it a different kind of approach compared to last election?
Well, I think the only difference is that in this election, Kenyans are a lot more prominent on the digital media platform, and there's a lot of traction, on the digital media platform. Actually, where we sit today, the internet penetration is fairly high in Kenya. It's 7.5, which is like the average of Europe. So there's a lot of credibility in the verified account. So if you go to Naomi Shaban's account and Naomi Shaban is talking to people, then you take it to the bank. But for most of them, I would tell Kenyans, there's nothing on social media that you take without a pinch of salt, unless you've gone to legacy media and it is also on legacy media. Because there are so many parody accounts, there are pseudo accounts, and so on and so forth. And naturally in a society, we only have a social contract, that sort of makes us believe that it is only the media, the established legacy media, that does our bidding, that reports in our own interests. But I would say that it's a good thing. I mean, if you're seeing members of parliament, heavyweights like Kimunya, Naomi Shaban, who has that experience, come out and say, I concede defeat, my team did well, but it was not good enough. I mean, that is the essence of democracy. Even as we wait for the presidential election, let us hope that is what we will see. The two, in fact, in Kenya today, if you look at the people who command the highest numbers outside the legacy media, And some of them actually beat the legacy media. You know, the deputy president is number 1, and Raila is number 2, followed by these other big bloggers. I mean, if they also go the same direction, because we know they are verified accounts, and tell us, you know, I've seen the numbers, this is where we have reached, I concede defeat. We will look for the next course of action. It would be a great progress in our democracy. But what I would tell Kenyans outside there, you know, there's nothing you should take without a pinch of salt when you find it on the digital platform.
But this should give lawyers a bit of concern that instead of contesting the election loss, many of these candidates are choosing to concede and not pursue legal redress.
No, I don't want to take exception, but I appreciate the remark because I think it's in jest. I mean, it is a light note. In reality, if you look at Amos Kemonya, Shaban, these are very experienced politicians, fine men and women. I mean,
they have about 45 seconds or so to wrap up.
They are very good. So it's not all about, no, they should concede. Those who actually come out and feel that they were beaten fairly, they should concede. It has nothing to do with lawyers wanting to take briefs. We have several briefs in the country that we can take. We don't have to stick to the petitions.
But you are waiting for a number of jobs coming up immediately.
But my brother Fred, if there's nothing to take to court, why go to court? So let them concede. On this we agree, let's move the country forward so that once they have conceded, we will do other business with them. I mean, there's several. Once they have conceded, they need to buy land, they need to travel, they need to, you know, do this and that, and we can still engage at that level.
Okay, yes, final
word. But Fred, again, it points to the fact that the elections are transparent. When you see big names like that concede. That's just one thing I wanted to
the lack of so many instances where losers are contesting. Final word, about 45 seconds or so.
Actually, for me, I think the reason why the big politicians are resigning with ease has got nothing to do with digital media or social media. It's because the process has been so transparent, and when they look at the results and they look at the outcome and they consult with their teams, they know that we have been given a fair beating. We have been walloped, that even if you're going to retain a lawyer, you're going to be shooting in the dark. So the best thing is to resign. And this is something that we are looking forward from either Mr. Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto, because those will be the most important speeches.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dismas Mokwa. Unfortunately, your time is up. Thank you so much, Dismas Mokwa, political risk analyst, Ishmael Neribo, lawyer and political strategist, Hesbon Owila, media and communication strategist, and Rafael Obonyo, public policy analyst. Thank you so much for helping us analyze the process until the place we are so far. We're still counting the results. As IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati said, results are still trickling in. We here at KTN News are trying as much as possible to bring you the provisional results at the space or the pace that we are able to. And of course, the official results will be announced at a later date by the Commission. The declaration can only be made by IEBC. Now, this is where we wrap up this edition of Kivumbi 2022. But my colleagues will be here in about 2 minutes or so to continue with this communication in Swahili. For now, good evening.